Today, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite Fujifilm lenses of all time, and that is the Fujifilm 23mm f1.4 lens. I have owned this lens for over 4 years now. When I look at Lightroom and I look at how many photos I've taken over the last years, the lens that I've used the most has been this one. It's on my camera 95% of the time. And there's a really good reason for that, and that is that it's a really freaking awesome lens. In this video, I want to talk to you about some of the pros and cons of this lens so you can determine if this is a good purchase for you. The first pro is the fact that it is a 35mm equivalent, which means it's very versatile. You can use this lens to capture portraits, to capture weddings, to capture street photography, landscapes. Whatever you really need to capture, you can get with this lens. It's one of those focal lengths that kind of yields itself to everything. If you want to get more of the environment in the background, all you have to do is just move back. If you want to focus on your subject and get that isolation, all you have to do is move in close and open up your aperture. So it's very versatile in that you can really get whatever kind of photography you need. That's kind of why I keep it on my lens most of the time. The second reason is that I come from a full frame kind of background. I've had a 5D Mark II, 3, and 4. I'm shooting my video right now on a Canon EOS R, and I'm used to that kind of full frame bokeh life. The bokeh that this lens produces is very good. It's very pleasing and not very distracting, very smooth and very circular. It makes it seem like you're using a full frame lens. And yes, the bokeh is not exactly the same, but to the average person, they won't be able to tell if you shot this photo with a full frame lens or with this Fujifilm lens. The bokeh really is that close to the full frame equivalent, like 1.4s and stuff like that. And you also have to think about its size. When you compare this lens to the Canon or Nikon equivalent or Sony, those lenses are massive. This 35mm equivalent is maybe half the size and a third of the weight of those lenses. So you're getting very comparable image quality for a fraction of the size. And that kind of makes a big difference when you want to find a lens that you want to carry every single day and not have to worry about it lugging your bag down. On that same note though, this lens feels very premium. It's made of all metal and it just has this like tank-like feeling. It's not a cheap lens that's just going to break if you drop it. It's very heavy, has a nice kind of weight to it, and the manual focus ring is pretty cool in that you have to kind of pull it back to engage the manual focus. And that's kind of like a nice throwback to the older kind of film cameras. It's heavy, but it's not too heavy. It's perfectly balanced on cameras like the X-T3 or the X Pro 2 or 3. It just feels really nice with those camera bodies. For photography, this lens is really hard to beat. You know, it's nice and small. It's really nice wide open aperture if you need it. It's a nice focal range where you can photograph almost any kind of subject with it and get good results. You really can't ask for more if you're asking for a good kind of all-around, all-purpose photography lens out there. The major con though is that there's no weather sealing, and that's may not be an issue for you, but I live in the New York, New Jersey area and it rains here a lot, and I'm constantly taking out the f2 version of this lens just because of the fact that it is weather sealed. The other thing is, if you shoot video at all, then this lens is not for you. This lens unfortunately performs very poorly when it comes to video. I am a video shooter, but I mostly shoot video with my Canon EOS R camera, and I use this one only for photography, so that's kind of why I keep it on my lens almost all the time. But if I was like a hybrid shooter and I needed something that can cover photo and video, this lens would not do it for me. First of all, video autofocus is very slow. That's because of these ancient autofocus motor that's in this lens. It just hunts a lot. It's not nearly as fast as the f2 versions.
Bob, you know why I called you photogenic?
Why?
Because you're always taking pictures. That's photogenic.
Okay. And there's no way around it. There's no way they can make that better with the firmware update because the issue is the actual hardware in the lens. I've shot videos of my kids with this lens and they're almost always out of focus just because they move around a lot, you know, and the autofocus can't keep up. I have to always stop my lens down, but if I do that, I kind of compromise image quality. And yeah, for video shooting, I would not really recommend this lens. The other thing is, because of that ancient autofocus motor, it's pretty loud, so you can definitely hear it in the audio when you're focusing back and forth. If you're trying to capture any kind of audio with this lens that's in the camera while you're focusing with this lens, it's just not gonna happen. You're gonna hear that sound constantly while you are recording a video. Should you buy this lens? I think if you are a photographer mainly and you take video with a separate camera, this lens is amazing. It's totally worth the money, the extra money to get that extra stop of light, and it just makes your photos look that much more creamy and that much nicer. But if you are someone that's a hybrid shooter that only has one camera and you also want to shoot video, I would say get the f2 version. So yeah, if you like this video, please subscribe. I'm going to make a lot more content about all my Fujifilm stuff. I love Fujifilm. Probably my favorite camera company to date has been this one. Just everything about the system is just a joy to use. And the Fujifilm community is just so appreciative and amazing. Please consider subscribing to this channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.